I'm Natasha Taylor-Bryson and welcome to Christmas Carrington Style. Here are my top 10 moments from episode 9 of the CW's Dynasty. Number 1. Who's behind the door? Sam and Crystal wait in the foyer of the Carrington mansion for the arrival of Iris, Sam's mother and Crystal's sister. Sam is super excited, but Crystal really doesn't seem too enthused at all. The door opens, but the excitement quickly evaporates when it's Blake, not Iris. Blake looks a little discombobulated, and Sam explains that they're waiting for his mum. To which Blake says, if I raised you, you wouldn't be wearing that shirt. Next to the door is Fallon, relieved that the gathering isn't for her. Thank God, she said. I was afraid I was going to have to act grateful. Now I know that would take more energy than you have, Fallon. Next is Granddaddy Carrington delivering the hungover Stephen from his New York bacchanalia. Finally, it's Anders and everyone lets out an exhausted sigh. But with him is the guest of honor, Iris, whose opening gambit is the ride up the driveway was longer than my flight and who puts a pool next to a lake? Number 2. Thomas Carrington, Blake's father. From the moment Thomas arrives at the Carrington mansion, he completely kicks off. Tom Carrington in the original series was a man with a lot of secrets, which spawned many a fun plot, including the arrival of one of my favourite characters, Dominique Devereaux, played by the fantastic and beautiful Diane Carroll. This incarnation blasts into the series, and from the moment he glowers at Sam, Crystal and Iris saying, "Am I in the right house?" we know we're in for some serious, old school, unreconstructed patriarchal shtick. If you were to distill all the Carrington flaws, stir in a heavy dose of old rich master of the universe worldview, you'd get Thomas. When Blake points out that if he had come to the wedding, he'd have met Crystal, Thomas bites back with, "I did come to your wedding, the one that wasn't for a green card." As magnanimous as Crystal tries to be, taking the turn the other cheek approach, we know there is going to be no winning over of this spiritual brother of Trump. Thomas immediately takes over the Carrington mansion and starts by co-opting Blake's chair in his study, leaving Blake looking like a child called into the headmaster's office. Thomas starts barking orders immediately and threatening to fire Blake if he doesn't do what he's told. You heard me right, saying do what you're told, namely fire Stephen. Later in the episode, he even says that the Christmas tree has bigger balls than Blake. Now, I'm not advocating patricide, but good lord, how did Blake manage to grow up and not become a Menendez brother? Surviving that childhood must have been no small feat. That he has any scrap of confidence or he isn't a homicidal maniac is a miracle. Thomas Carrington's only redeeming feature seems to be that he did coke with Stevie Nicks. And number 3, Monica. Now, when this series started, I thought Jeff's sister was called Monique. It was listed on IMDb as Monique for a while, but then I read various articles referring to Wakima Hollis's character as both Monica and Monique. And in this episode, she is distinctly called Monica on a number of occasions, so Monica Colby it is. Side note, Wakima Hollis turns up in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It has to be said that they put Wakima in some extreme outfits. This episode, she sports over-the-knee white leather boots with a leopard print top, and the girl pulls it off. Lesser mortals would be completely overwhelmed by these outfits, but she always leaves me wishing I was brave enough to have a go. Monica goes on a shopping trip with Fallon that takes an unexpected turn when she finds herself not in Prada, but in prison. Earlier in the episode, Jeff told Fallon about Thanksgiving that he hadn't been with some mystery lady, but rather visiting his father, Cecil Colby, in prison, and because of that, Monica wasn't talking to him. So Fallon, in her attempts at evolution, with a smidge of self-interest, tries to facilitate a father-daughter reunion. Realising what's going on, the distressed Monica says, "I can't believe you lied to me." And Fallon clearly doesn't get the gravity of the situation. I know, no one should ever lie about shopping. Monica storms off, wanting nothing to do with her father. And back at Morel HQ, Monica works out that there is more than just dividend reports going on between Jeff and Fallon. And she delivers the stinger of a line, "Luckily she'll be back with her boy toy driver now that he's single." Hadn't he told you? Maybe it's because he's learnt to avoid all her drama. Why haven't we? Monica ends the episode seducing Michael, and Fallon's best friend and moral compass just became her enemy. Number 4. Fallon's tumultuous attempts at personal growth. Despite opening the episode with a solution to the Morale Corp ending the year in black, namely firing most of the staff, Fallon seems to be genuinely attempting to be a better person. Although with wildly unsuccessful results, it has to be said. Fallon's attempts at evolving are stymied mostly by her inability to pay attention to social cues. Despite Monica's clear distress at finding herself manipulated into confronting her estranged father, Fallon jokes rather than consoles. Some might even say that wearing a Balmain tartan wool mini dress to prison is in itself a sign that she's out of touch. But hey, this is Dynasty, I couldn't possibly call that one. When Cecil says, "You're Blake's daughter," in a quizzical way, Fallon misses the warning signs completely. No, Blake's my father. To say that this is unwelcome news is an understatement. Cecil completely freaks out and is dragged from the room by guards, leaving the usually unflappable Fallon speechless. Number 5. Stephen slide into the dark side. Stephen is scooped up from the detritus of his excess in New York by his grandfather and brought back to Atlanta. Blake wants him in rehab, to which he agrees rather too readily if you ask me, and clearly he has other plans. He's packing for an escape and smuggles Ted Denard into the Carrington compound. Later, when Ted slips out, he's spotted by Thomas, who points out to Blake that there is a Ken doll sneaking out of the East Wing. Blake, already completely wound up by Thomas, is furious, brandishes his golf club like he's about to relieve Ted of the burden of his head. But Ted escapes with all his appendages intact. Although his luck doesn't hold and he's pulled over and arrested when cocaine is found in his car. Cocaine he claims wasn't his. Stephen scrambles to get Ted out of jail, but with little success. So he goes full Carrington, demanding a family lawyer drop everything to get Ted out of jail, even though it's Christmas. Now, this happens a lot with Stephen. I think his moral compass is more skewed than he's willing to admit. I get that he wants to be good, but he seems more than happy to wield Carrington power whenever he needs it. Number 6. Festive Anders. Anders is clearly enjoying all the Christmas preparations, but he's not letting the Christmas good cheer get in the way of throwing jibes at Crystal every chance he gets. When Crystal makes her sister a peace offering, "You made those?" Anders says with equal parts horror and relief. "I thought Mrs. Gunnison was having a psychotic break." Anders and Crystal make an unnerving discovery in Iris's handbag. Some of the marked blackmail money that was delivered to the Venezuelan criminals in the last episode. Crystal pleads with Anders not to tell Blake before she's had a chance to confront Iris. Anders' response, "I miss the good old days when all you had was a dead ex-lover." Number 7. Daddy Colby and Jeff. In the original series, Cecil was Jeff's uncle and he raised him after his father died. Here, Cecil Colby is his father. And Cecil is played by the wonderful Hakeem Kae-Kazim, British-Nigerian actor. So what do we know about Cecil? We know Cecil is in jail for drugs and he is estranged from his family. Now we find out he was set up because Carringtons wanted him put away quietly to hide the fact that Cecil was trying to kill Blake for having an affair with his wife, Jeff and Monica's mother. Do I detect some illegitimate offspring in the offing? And our suspicions were right. Jeff is out to destroy the Carringtons and he has all his pieces in position. He is primed and ready to unleash those dogs of war. Number 8. The catfight gets new location. Crystal's flashbacks have given us glimpses into Iris's backstory, but all we know really is that she and Crystal stole money for some dangerous people and that they planned to escape to America, but when the time came to flee, Iris was a no-show. And now here she is at the Carrington mansion, reunited with Crystal after 12 years. Armed with an elaborately dressed cocktail, Iris pitches Blake for a job at Carrington Atlantic and Crystal is not pleased. Why? Her sister has been on the run for 12 years. Why wouldn't Crystal want her with her in America? But clearly this notion is as appealing as those fish heads she found in her car in the last episode. Sam tries to calm her. She doesn't want your life, she just wants hers. But when Iris is unapologetic when confronted by Crystal about the stolen money, and doubles down, threatening to tell Blake everything, all bets are off. Christmas Eve celebrations kick off with goblets that look like they were designed by Fabergé. Sam finds the whole dour atmosphere of a Carrington Christmas celebration putting a dent in his reunion buzz. Finding Fallon and Stephen's rendition of Good King Wenceslas particularly painful. And he breaks out some dance moves to get the party back on track, showing off Crystal's fringe Rachel Zoe outfit to full effect. Iris is having none of it and steps between the pair, and Sam finishes the dance with his mum. Well, I say finish. The dance ends more than finishes, with Crystal launching herself at Iris and the pair careen into the Christmas tree, which comes crashing to the ground. It has to be said, this is the most festive of catfights. And to top it all off, Crystal confesses to killing Sam's father while trying to protect his mother, Iris. This is the father that Sam thought abandoned him. Now, Crystal's apologies to both Blake and Sam go down like a lead balloon. Iris is scarpered and Crystal is up the proverbial without a paddle. Number 9, Bo Knows. Bo the family basset hound, named for Bo Hopkins, the actor who played the original Matthew Blaisdell. You called it, Joseph. I read it in an Entertainment Weekly article written by the showrunner Sally Patrick. Bo gets some serious screen time in this episode, be it sneaking Christmas cookies or in my favourite scene, where Iris slips away from the party to copy information from Blake's computer. Iris is in full spy mode. When the study door swings open, the soundtrack turns ominous and Iris is frozen in fear. The door opens fully to reveal Bo sat in all his reindeer headband glory, staring ominously at Iris. They stare at each other until Bo walks away. I half expected Anders to have attached a GoPro camera to Bo's reindeer antlers and be watching the whole thing from the kitchen. It was a wonderfully surreal moment. Number 10. How X is the ex-husband? So Crystal killed Iris's husband. Well, she seems to think she did. But the ex-husband, the man we saw Crystal stab in the flashback, appears in Blake's office going by the name of Diego Calistana. A tasty little twist. In soap opera, no one is ever really dead. Matthew Blaisdell, anyone?
I knew we weren't that ugly. I knew it.